comments. So this is the report which we did. I am adding now the statuses, and let's see. So there will be something called active status. So if you just click on these three dots, it is a global field. Business object is global. So that's not what we want. Then we see active status. If we click on this, it shows return yes if the worker is active. Right? Excludes worker who are on certain types of leave or who are terminated. So it will return yes only for the active worker. So let's choose this. Then, and then there is also is active. There is a field like this. I think is active employee. So if you click on this, it says is this employee active and an employee. So let's choose that and then choose what is there a field called employee status? No. No. Is there a field called worker status? Yes, and then if you see it returns active on leave, retired or terminated. So you choose that. Then I think let's see what's related to terminated, and it says it's a global object is global, so we will not. This one is worker turns true if worker's primary position is terminated. So let's choose this. Click on OK, and then let's run. So here you see active status is active employee, yes. Worker status active, terminated is blank for all the active ones. Right, I think I have a filter right here. So let me remove a filter so that let's see if we can get someone who is terminated. So this one is, let me remove this part, whole, add, and let's choose only termination date. Operator, let's say our requirement is not blank. So for all the employees, the filter is that they have termination date populated. If I now run it and see, so you have this all other stuff populated for them, but this is the status is active, but the terminated is not there. And then if you're saying that we have put a condition of termination date not blank, so if you go and see the description of that field, you will get to know why this some active employees are coming. Right? So termination date says the effective date of worker's last termination doesn't include future dated terminations or terminations with a rehire on the next day. To include termination with the next day rehire, use termination date all report field. Okay, so if I say now, let's choose. So you will have to experiment because it comes with experience. The more you try, the more you will learn on this part. This one has this. Equals to blank. Let's say for all the inactive ones. Now if I run it, so now all the terminated one will come. Right? So this field is not giving us anything. That means data is not updated for that particular one. So we will not use that field. Instead of that, let me use termination date. And there is another one, which is termination date all. Let's see now. Right. Okay. So somebody is retired, has its termination date. Now everyone has a termination date. Okay. So you can try different thing and then you will get to know. Okay. Any other questions? Nope. Okay. Then let's move to the next topic. Now say we have a requirement. So this report we have run, right? Now there are different, all these fields which are giving you data. This is Workday's data, right? Whatever data you have stored in Workday, this is the data. But in our integration, in our first class, we discussed, right? Workday integration means integrating Workday with any other external system. Now that external system will need data. So as part of that, there might be some transformation which is needed for that system to consume the data. For example, the other system is saying that, okay, you're exposing this report. I need only the first digit of the worker status. Like if it's retired, then you send only R. If it's terminated, you send only T. This date you send me in the, don't send slashes. We don't accept slashes. You send us hyphens, right? And then employee ID, don't just send us employee ID. You send us employee ID with an underscore and then the first name. That kind of stuff, right? Where you have to modify the existing fields so that the other system can accept or our requirements can be met, right? So that concept in Workday is called a calculated field, right? So a calculated field has a calculation or a formatting or whatever is needed, right? As per the requirement, you create that and then use that field in your report. So it's a kind of a custom field. It's not custom. It is a field on top of the existing field with some transformation, right? Like a format change. For example, if you want to make this last name as uppercase, right? That kind of requirement. So all those things are called, those fields are calculated fields, right? Now let me come here. Any questions?
So it means, say we have a currency field, okay, which is in USD. So I want it in a local currency. So we'll add some exchange rate and do the conversion for that field. So then it is a calculated field, you mean to say.
Right, that can be done in calculated fields, but that is normally done via when we load the currency rates in Workday. Automatically, say when you create one invoice in one currency and you want it in the other currency, it automatically does that. But yes, if you want to explicitly do that, you can do that as using these calculated fields.
Okay.
Okay. So I am just giving an example here, field one, field two, and all that, right? Now this is the business object name is worker, right? And then you have different fields here. Now, if you have to create a calculated field, the calculated field will be created on the same business object. And then you give a name and then you choose a function. Okay. So for creating a calculated field, the most important thing is to choose what business object do you want that calculated field to be, right? So let's say this is a calculated field. Now this calculated field, you have to choose an object. Which object it is? It is worker, right? And the name of the calculated field is, say, calc1, right? So once you create this field becomes part of this main business object, right? So that's when, if you see our task, which was data source, right? Or business object. Let me go there to be more clear. I can open it directly from here. So let's say if I have this worker business object, on this business object, we have that tab, right, where we can see different fields which are part of this. There, you either have it workday delivered or is it calculated field. So when you create a calculated field, it becomes part of this, right? Because there are a huge list of fields which are part of worker. That's why it takes time. Okay, but then let's go ahead and we'll see once that opens up. To create a calculated field, the task is simple: create calculated field. You can use whatever shortcut you want, right? So this task here, create calculated field. Now, as I said, you first have to choose what's the name. General naming convention which is followed for all I have seen in all the projects across the globe is CF underscore and then the name of the field. Okay, CF stands for calculated field here. Then you choose the business object. So if you choose business object as worker, that means this field will become part of this business object. So now if your report is using the primary business object as worker, then in this fields, you can add this new calculated field. If say I have creating it on say another business object, say for example, supplier, right? Now, this calculated field now, if I create it, it will not be available on the worker business object. Why? Because it is created on supplier. There is one way that you can create a calculated field and it will be available on all business object, that is using a business object called global. Okay, so when you create a calculated field on a business object called global, you can use it anywhere. And what's the use case? For any hard coded things, right? And we will see the examples. But are you guys clear on what a calculated field is? Right? We create it on a business object and it is available only on that business object. And if you want a kind of a hard coded or a text or something, then we create it as a global business object and it is available on all the business objects. Any questions so far? Nope.
Yeah, one question. So all the
Yes.
calculated fields will be created like this. So any, I mean, there is no other way of doing this. This is the only way.
No, this is the only way of creating a calculated field.
So basically, these are like, not calculations in the report. Basically, it is calculated field is something different.
Right. It is, yeah, it is separate from the report filter, report everything. It is a field which, and we will see when we see the types, the function, right? The third thing, I have not discussed that yet.
Okay.
Because first I want you to be clear about what a calculated field is, how it will be available on the report, when it will be available and all that. But we'll see what types of calculated fields we have.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So then we are going very slow because these are the foundation. Once this is clear, then
Understood.
it is fine.
Makes sense.
So now if you see here, the business object is worker, right? There are around 4,092 fields, right? Now you see here field source. It is calculated, then you have workday delivered, then you have calculated, then, right? There are so many calculated. That means it is not what is delivered. It is something which is a calculated one, right? Similarly, you can see all calculated stuff. Workday delivered are these ones, right? So if you create a new calculated field, this count on worker business object, you create another one, this count will become 409. And then as different developers will create that, this count will keep on increasing. Okay, now let's come here. Say, so now when you create, you give a name and you choose the object.
So suppose say, these calculated fields, all the developers will be creating, or there will be a, because there
yes,
will
all as part of here. So you say you have got a requirement for creating one integration, and as part of that integration, you are creating a report, or even in not a report, just a integration. In that, if there is a need, you will create your own calculated field.
Okay, so
and the recommendation is you don't share calculated fields. Say, for example, if I have created one field,
okay,
I don't want it to be used by anyone else. Why? The reason is, say I'm building integration 1, right? And you are building integration 2. Now we both have a common requirement that, okay, we need a field which will give us today's plus 5 days, right? The date after 5 days. So I have created a calculated field today plus 5 days because it was needed in my report.
Oh, there.
Right? And same thing was needed for you. So you said, okay, now we both are using the same field. Now what happened after 2 days, my requirement got changed. Now the other system is saying instead of 5 days, you send us after 7 days. So what I'll do is I'll change the field.
Right.
And then indirectly it will impact your integration. Your integration will fail because you're sending wrong data. So that's why it is always recommended that you create your own fields and don't use, even if say I have created one, you copy mine and then give a new name.
Okay. So,
right?
but my calculated field is visible for others. Is there any security?
Yes. It will be visible because it is available on that business object, right? It becomes a field of that object now. So it is available to all.
So there is no
security. The security is similar to that of that object. So if you have access to that, you will be able to.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. But yes, good question. So generally what we do is we put CF underscore, say if we are building it as part of an integration or a report, or we give the ID of that integration, right? Say INT 001 underscore something description. So that way, if anybody is seeing this field, he will get to know that, okay, this field is being used by this integration and for what purpose. Okay. So let me say CF test 1. Now you see here functions. We have so many functions here, right? We have aggregated related instance, arithmetic calculation. As the name says, arithmetic calculation, plus, minus, divide, multiply. Build date. We have concatenate text, which is for merging two fields together. Say, as I told you the requirement, right? Merge employee ID and first name. So that is for this. Convert currency. This is, I think, Afsha, you asked. Say if you have a field which has currency and you want to convert it to another one, you can use this. Convert text to number. Count related instance, meaning say if we have a field which has multiple instances, we want the count of that. Then a date constant. Say if you want to hard code a date in the report, right? Or if there is a need for any date constant, this is for that. Date difference is the difference between two dates. Say you want a difference between termination date and hire date, then you use this kind of stuff. Evaluate expression is like an if-else condition. Evaluate expression band is similar to this. Extract multi-instance is the type of field. Say an example, you have a field which has 5 instances. For example, here, and the best example here is dependents. An employee can have 5 dependent, right? And now all the children's. right? In the report, you want all the children. So that means from the 5, if say the employee has 2 children, so extract multi-instance meaning total was 5. Now you're extracting 2. And extract single instances when you are extracting single instance out of the multiple one. Most common example is, say, if you want on the report the youngest dependent, right? So that is out of multiple, you're extracting single one. Format date is changing the format of the date, hyphen, slashes, MMDDYY or whatever. Format number is the formatting of number like decimal places and all that. Format text, uppercase, lowercase. Increment, decrement date, if you want to add days, months, years, this is for that. Lookup hierarchy, and this one is not used. We will be seeing the lookup related value, the most common one. And lookup translated value, lookup as of date, again, the same one. Numeric constant is, as the name says, prompt for value is prompt the user for a value. Substring text is getting, say, if your field is 5 digits, you want 3 digits. Some related instances, again, a field having multiple values, but all numbers, so you want to sum them up. Text constant, text length, true, false, all this, right? It was just a quick summary, right? Don't worry. We will go with all of them, not all, but yes, the most common ones, one by giving a proper use case. Okay, so say first, let's run the report. Okay, first, the most common one, let's see now. The requirement is that the first name has to be all capital. Okay, so what we do is we create, and what is that field? It is the first name field. Okay, so we go here, function. Now we have to choose, as per our requirement, which function will meet our requirement. So what we are doing is we are formatting the text, right? So I'll choose this, click on OK. Now source field. Source field means which field you want this calculation to be done. Our field name is first name. So I will choose that, first name. Right. Now options. What do I want to do? Lowercase, uppercase, propercase. So uppercase. Now let me copy the name just for, and click on OK. So now this calculated field is created. How to test it is you go to the report, edit the report. In the meanwhile, this was 4092, right? Let me try to refresh it and see if that changes, right? So now here we have this first name. What I'll do is click on plus and copy the name of my calculated field. So it is available. Now if I click on OK and run this. Oh, there you go. So all the first name now as part of this field is now uppercase. Yep. Now, say the requirement is that you have employee ID and this capital first name. I want both of them together in one field. Employee ID underscore the capital first name, right? So this has to be in another calculated field. So what I'll do is I'll say create another calculated field, or you can directly go to create field. But again, let me tell you how to search for a calculated field. So the qualifier, the shortcut is CF and then the colon. And then you give the name of your calculated field. Right, so it will test that. For report, searching a report, what was the shortcut? Who remembers?
RD.
RD, yeah, good. Okay, so this is the one. If you want to edit it, you just go calculated field, edit, and you say you want to change it, make it uppercase, lowercase, whatever. You can do that. Okay, done. So now what was our next step was to create another calc field for concatenating. Right. So I will go here. I will say CF underscore test 2. What will be the business object?
Worker.
Worker. Why worker? Because our report is on worker business object. That's why if you want this field to be available there, it has to be the business object worker. Now function, now since we have to concatenate, right, I will use this. Now what it is saying is add the fields. So first is what? Employee ID. And then I want an underscore. So underscore is a constant. It might come under global fields. So in the global fields, these are Workday delivered, right? So you have all comma, hyphen, question, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and whatever. So let's say we take this hyphen here, or whatever it is, underscore. And then what do we want to concatenate with is this CF underscore test. So we can use calculated field which we have created in another calculated field. So there is no such kind of restriction that a calculated field cannot use a calculated field. We are open to use. Okay, so done. Now it is done. So I will copy this name. I will go to my report, edit, and put it on this report to make sure that, yep, calculated field is working fine. So CF test 2 now is available. Okay. See, it becomes 4093 from 4092. Now run. And here is this employee ID underscore the first name. Okay, now say another one. Another requirement was the worker status. We need to send only the first digits, first alphabet. Okay, for that, create another calculation. You can directly go here or from the same task. So CF underscore test 3, business object will be worker. Function. Now what we want is substring. Substring, right? As the name says, it gets like this is a common name, right? For in different coding languages, you get that. What field do you want to substring from? It is worker status. So I will choose the text field as worker status. Then substring type, I will say fixed position. So after a delimiter, before a delimiter, meaning if you can put, if they say the text has underscore and you want the values before the underscore, then you use before a delimiter and you specify the delimiter here, the underscore, by going into global text and then choose the underscore. So that means it will give you anything which is before the delimiter, similar is after the delimiter. But in our case, it is the fixed position. So I want the starting position as, again, go to global field and choose 1, numeric. There is 1. 1. Okay, fixed length, again, it is 1 as we want. Starting from first position, and I want only 1. So go global field, again, numeric, and 1. Click on OK, and I will copy this field to test. I will edit the report and put it. Let me put it next to the worker status field, and let me remove these extra so that it will be easy to see. Are you getting everything, or any questions, any doubts? Right now we are doing the simplest ones.
Yeah, we can follow.
Okay, so now we are running it, and then let's see. Yep, so we have this our third calculated field, which is substring, hence it is giving only the first alphabet of this string. Okay, now let's change the date format, right? So say we want some other format for this date. So this field is termination date. Let's go there, create another calculation, CF test for business object worker, and function will be format date. Click on OK. Date field is termination date and format. So now you can choose what format you want, right? That you want only the year. If you select year, it will only give you the what, like for this one, it will only give 2011, 2014, 2012. Then if you choose the quarter, month, or day, it will only give that part of the date. But in our case, if we want it to be a specific one, we have this format mask thing here. You click on that, and then you have format mask. So if you just put your mouse on this one, it gives you all the things, how you can specify the format. So small y stands for year. So if you give two y's, it will give you the last two digits of the year. If you give full y, it will give you full. Then M, capital M is month. If you give it two times, it will give the number of that month. If you give three, it will give the short form of that month. And then MMMM will give you August, full. D is that. So let me put, so D is the day in the year, and small d is day in the month. So let me put like this, DD hyphen MMMM, then Y. Right? So Y will give this, and that comes out. Okay. Fine. Let me click on OK. Copy this. And now let's see. Easy, interesting. Do you guys find it interesting or no?
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then till now we have done no coding. Everything is just configuration. Right. So now let's run it and see how the format is coming. So you see here 27 and then full December. Right, there is an extra 0. That means there is something wrong there. I have given 5 y's. That's why it is coming like that. If I edit it, let me give something else now. Say I want y mm dd. Click on OK, and that's it. So now I have edited it. So what I have to just do is just rerun this, because the field is already on the report. Just run it again, and now it will give you this same format. Okay, now another one. Let's say now the requirement is you need termination date minus 30 days, right? So then what we will do is, let me do it, done, create calculated field. CF underscore test 5 worker function. Now there is a function called increment decrement date, right? Click on OK. Date field is termination date. Or say there is a, this is not a real scenario. Real scenario is, say you want to give hire date plus 30 days, right? That's when, say, normal probation period ends, right? So this is, I'll give hire date And then it says year to add or subtract, month to add or subtract, days to add or subtract. So you can choose this days numeric and choose the date. So you can, this 28, 29, and then minus. So if you give minus 30, it should give you that. Click on OK, done. I will come here. Let me give it after last name. So first I will give hire date so that we have a comparison, and then calculated field, which is 5. Yep. So this is the hire date and this is minus 30 days. Okay. Let's do one more. Now say the requirement is the vendor is saying that we want another column which should send us a constant value of say test as of now, right? They want another column. The first column needs to be test. Okay. Now test is, there is no such field in Workday, right? Which can give you test. So in that case, what you do is you create your calculated field. Right now here business object, because it's a constant one, right? It's your wish. You can choose the business object as worker, or you can put it as global, right? So if you use global, it will be available on all the business object. And if you choose worker, it will only be there on worker. So, and then now function, I want it to be a text constant. Okay. And then you specify whatever. So test. Okay. Copy text. Now, if I put it here as the first column, by the way, these arrows here are for moving the fields up and down. Click on OK and run. Now the first column should be the test. Yep. Any questions so far?
If I have to add a header, I mean, like in the report, if I need a column names, whatever the data I'm sending.
So these are the column names, right? So if you see this one, CF test 6, if you want to change it, then this is the next to the column, right? So column heading override. You can override the heading here.
Okay.
Say for the CF test, you just want to give is the say identifier, and then employee ID you want EMPL ID. This is say ID. CF test 2, I don't know what was that, F name, something like that. If you don't give that, by default, what is the name of the field will be the column name, right? Now let's see if we have given these 4.
Okay.
And if I click on OK and run it, the headings of that will change. Yeah.
Okay. And one more thing is like if I have this 100 rows and all in a report. Okay. If I have to do a count of rows in each file, whichever the report I generate, so can we do that? Count of the rows in the report?
Yeah. So that will be a separate one. That is the next level where we do the integrations. Right now, we are just first doing the data, and this is the type of integration where you create the report and expose it as web service directly to the vendor.
Yeah.
Now, when we need a separate file, say the vendor wants a comma separated file, which should have at the bottom the total count of rows and all that stuff, that is via different integration types that we will do in coming sessions.
So
Okay.
if I'm not wrong, if I compare this with PeopleSoft, this is like a PS query, I can say, right?
Yes,
Where I can.
exactly. Okay, and then this is one. Yeah. Then there was another one. Say if you want the length of this field, right? The last name, that how many digits are there, how many alphabets are there in this last name, right? So you have another one here, which is what was that? Text length, right? And then let me give PST test 7. I want the last name length, right? So this is the last field for today. Business object worker. And you have to give the field whose length you want to know. Okay, copy text, edit the report and put it. And let me say length here.